Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Naishad Gadani coming to you from Chile, Melbourne. It's still, I've not seen sun since today in the morning. It's pretty chilly out here. And yes, the restrictions have been eased in Melbourne. So I think we don't have to wear masks outdoors and we can have a couple of people, joining, coming over, uh, for dinner, lunch, breaky, whatever. So that's a welcome decision. And also, by the way, those people who did not see my post, I got jabbed. I got my first Pfizer jab this on Wednesday. The arm was pretty sore the next day, but I'm doing fine, and I'm getting another one, second dose in 3 weeks' time. So I'll be fully vaccinated in 3 weeks' time, and I think I should be given what we say a ticket around the world to go
At
and
least a
promote.
lollipop, Naish. At least a
No, I got
lollipop.
that. I
Oh,
They didn't
did you?
even offer me a lollipop. No, I was telling my wife that they should keep chai and samosas there because I know that would bring people in. But okay, let's put the COVID fun aside. We are here to talk about an interesting topic. This is our 210th episode of Career Care Package, and we are here to talk about a very interesting topic called how to create a great portfolio career. But before we start to get into the topic, we let's invite Caroline Brown.
Thanks, Naish. And yeah, it's fantastic to be here. It's a very drizzly morning. I went down to the beach for a swim crazily because I think it was wetter outside than it was in this morning. So, but it's really great to have masks off that you can actually see people's faces and smile. So, and rather than just doing that with your eyes. So, really fantastic to have you here today, Melita. And, as I was writing the blog post for this, I'm like, there's a jobs boom on, right? At the moment. But so why should we talk about portfolio careers? So I'm really excited to have you here today and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. So, yeah, I guess that's a lot of people might be wondering because I know a lot of my clients have been contacted on LinkedIn and, they've got an old profile, but they've got, people contacting them about jobs they did or have done a few years ago. And lots of people are being headhunted, lots of jobs around there. But the long-term trends around portfolio careers and why what's behind that hasn't really changed. So, yeah, what maybe a good place to start would be to, I guess, introduce yourself and then let's talk about what is a portfolio career.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Melita Long. My business is Careers on Purpose. I have been career coaching since 2003. So yeah, basically coming up 18 years actually. That time's gone very quickly. And I've worked with easily 2,500 clients over that time across a whole range of careers, and quite a number of them have had portfolio careers themselves. And actually, when Nishad first asked me about presenting today, I thought, oh yes, I have a portfolio career. I've been doing that for a few years. And then I stopped and thought about it and realised I've actually had a portfolio career myself since the late 90s. So I have been doing that without necessarily consciously realising that, certainly initially that it was a portfolio career. And it's certainly something that I'm really excited to talk about because I think it helps to take some of the control back into your own hands as an employee, as a worker, as a business owner, as a person, really. That's quite exciting.
That's really interesting that you say that because I think a lot of people, like I have a portfolio career, Naish has a portfolio career, Chrissy, who is going to come on, has a portfolio career as well. We didn't actually think that that's what we were creating at the time, but we were responding to something. And I guess, yeah, maybe talk to people about what is a portfolio career and then what are the kind of trends that are behind the creation of that way of working.
Sure. So in essence, a portfolio career is when somebody has two or more different forms of employment or work, which could be paid or unpaid. And so where that tends to suit people is a variety of settings, actually, where people where people want to turn a hobby into a business, where that's something they enjoy doing and they want to do more of that, where people have or that they have a new business idea that they want to test before they actually take it further. As I call it, try before you fly. So it's the idea of testing the water whilst keeping the security of paid employment to have that secure income. Or it could be people who, particularly creatives. I notice a lot of creatives are more inclined to have portfolio careers because they like to do different things. Or where the thing that you're most passionate about is not your day job. And it could take various different forms. You could be working full-time and have a portfolio career, another a side hustle, a business, a gig, your own business, or you could be doing pro bono work on the side, or you could be using that as a tool to transition into a new career whilst working on your existing career. And there are so many examples of that. When I think back to my own experience, back when I was in marketing, corporate marketing, I realised back in the 90s I had a portfolio career. I was also doing direct selling on the side of a health and nutritional product, and I was a dance teacher as well, because that's actually what I was more passionate about than my day job. And I certainly, most of the dance teachers that I know have had day jobs and then done that as a portfolio on the side. So with language teachers as well, I've seen many examples of that. Many years ago, my Spanish language teacher, for years he's worked in a role in the office of the ombudsman, which I think he could do with his eyes closed. But he's more passionate about teaching Spanish, and he did that sort of basically every weeknight. And we're talking over 20, 30 years. So it's quite possible to have a portfolio career that runs for a really long period of time. And it's really only limited by what you want and what your drivers are and how much time and energy you have.
I'm thinking about Nation, what he gets up to. I'm like, where do you sleep? So, but yeah, that's really interesting. So, but do you think that, I mean, because we've spoken a bit about this on this show as well, but do you think that is the way that most of us will work moving forward? Or do you think, because a lot of people talk about the day of the permanent job for life. Well, we know the day of the permanent job for life is not there really, but do you think that is the long-term trend? That's what you're seeing in the marketplace?
Look, I think there's quite a few different factors involved. I don't know that you could make a blanket statement and say that everybody will have a portfolio career. Some people want the stability and the certainty of something that looks like a 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week job. Now, of course, we know a job for life is a concept that was long gone quite some time ago. There is no loyalty from employers, and likewise, there is no loyalty from employees, although, I mean, some employees are very loyal, but that may or may not be reciprocated by their employer. What I certainly realised a very long time ago in my career is that there is no job security except that which we create for ourselves. So portfolio career is one mechanism by which we can do that. And certainly it's a useful tool for people who are looking to explore setting up their own business, but want to keep the security of their day job in the meantime while they get that up and running, especially in the high failure rate of small businesses within the first 2 years. So it's a tool that people can use. It's a way of working. I don't know that we could make a blanket statement and say that it'll be the way of working for everybody, but certainly we do have more of a gig economy than we ever have before. So I think the prevalence of portfolio careers will continue to rise.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of a few clients of mine that are just contract to contract. So, which is in a sense in a portfolio. There's times that they're not working, and there's times that they might do part-time, and then that's contract. And that's certainly, I think, a long-term trend as well. Nesh, do you have some questions you want to jump in with? Or?
No, I think just reflecting on a recent TED talk that I watched, which is called Emily Wapnick, and she talks about what if you can't find a passion for yourself, what would you do then? And she talks about a really interesting concept, not particularly unheard of if you are a careers practitioner or careers coach or you've been around this space for a long time. It's called multi-potentials. That everybody has got multi-potential. You don't need to find your passion to work. You can find you can have multiple interests. I've got interest in careers. I've also got interest in visual sketching and doodling. I've also got interest to become a superstar comic, sorry, not superstar but a comic, right? Then I've got an interest in Bollywood. I've got interest in making food. But you know you can combine them, or you can pursue a particular trade while you continue to work on what gives you bread and butter, what pays you bill. But the other aspect, you can still do that, because I think that with the advent of technologies, you look at the faster internet that we have, to the technologies that we have work on, with video conferencing, to so many SaaS platforms out there for you to build something. There are marketplaces out there for you to sell things. There are courses that you could do to acquire those skills and then implement this. So I think the opportunities are humongous. But going back to what Malita said about that, whether is it for everyone? Not necessarily. Some people do not want that, and that's also fine. I think we are not, just for the audience, we are not saying that everybody should have or must have. We're not talking should or must. We're just saying it's possible if that is what you are interested in. To conclude, I met a very senior IT specialist, and we were chatting, and he said, I also have got my import business too. I said, what do you import? He said, I import garden products. And I said, you are an IT specialist and you import garden products? He said, yeah, I've got a warehouse too, and I just sell it to retailers, or I sell it to end users. I was just gobsmacked by that. He said, no, I love that. I just enjoy that. I've got a great garden at home, and I just fall in love with that thing. And now he works in a big IT company, and then in the weekends, in the evenings, that's what he does. Now that's a great example. It may or may not be in the same direction. It might be in a completely different direction, but it's still considered a portfolio career.
In fact, I would argue that portfolio careers really work for people when they are doing two often quite different things. Because what I find, certainly with my clients, and I'm sure it's the same for both of you, is that it's not that my clients have a lack of options. Usually my clients have too many options, and that's the struggle for them. Is, do I the client I'm working with at the moment, do I go down the HR path? Do I go down executive coaching? Do I go down change management? Well, arguably with a portfolio career, you can do all three. Especially, as I say, creative people who have a lot of interests. And when I talk to my clients, it's interesting how I'll use accountants, for example, right? Accounting is a very predictable, stable career field, and yet so many people that I know who are accountants want to do a wide variety of other things, as varied as hypnotherapy or counselling or running a cafe or bed and breakfast or setting up a horse riding school. There are so many different interests that people have, and a portfolio career is a means to do that. And that can be done in various different ways. It can be done with a full-time job where you're working evenings and weekends. It can be if you are able to negotiate your work down to a 9-day fortnight where you get the same pay but you work longer hours on those days that you're working. And a lot more employers are open to that now. And can purchase leave and use that as a way of essentially achieving the same end. Or a 4-day week, which is what I do myself. I currently work in an L&D role 4 days a week, and the rest of the time I'm doing my career coaching, because often my clients want to work with me on evenings or weekends, so that works for them as well. And it's finding a balance that works for you. A lot of people could be job sharing. That's become more common now, where you could be job sharing. One person's working 3 days, the other one's 2 or 2.5, or you might have a role that needs 2 people working 3 days a week, depending on the nature and industry. So
it's really, it's really interesting, because the technology, I think, COVID has actually been an enabler of this too, hasn't it? Because if you're working from home, there's that level of trust that, and we're talking about, I guess, white collar professionals here, there's that level of trust that you can, as long as you can deliver whenever. So there's that level of flexibility that you could potentially have in that as well. One of the really interesting things too is that I was just thinking, one of my clients was working in as a product design and had a YouTube channel on the side with skateboards, like reviewing skateboards. He was making money from it. So it's a really interesting mix of things that people do. But it's interesting too, because I think there is, like, it has become more acceptable, and in some places expected, that you might have a side hustle. Like I met some graduates in IT from Telstra a few years ago, and this was before COVID. And they, in the graduate program, were expected to have a side business, like a product that they were launching, because a lot of organisations were looking for that innovation, that entrepreneur type flair as well. So, it is being viewed differently, I think, than maybe 5 years ago. If you've got that side business, is that what you're seeing with employers as well, Melita?
Yes, it is actually. They must. So I think if my current role, as in my day job, 3 of us work part-time and have other roles, other businesses on the side. And then my previous work, a lot of my colleagues, even though they were working full-time, had side businesses, and a lot of them were IT based actually, or, as you say, importing. It was really fascinating to discover what people were actually doing outside of work hours, and it wasn't watching TV. they were very actively involved in various types of businesses. So, and this was in a government department as well. And so the key thing here, in terms of making a portfolio career possible, is, employers are more open to it. And I think as long as you can demonstrate, you can disclose what you're working on, that it's not a conflict of interest to the business or the organisation that you're working for, and have that clear delineation between the two, then I don't see there being a problem, certainly based on what I've observed.
I think one of the way that people who want to find out how do I really start with this, as well, because it sometimes gets overwhelming, right? Suddenly you said, oh, now I don't even have to find one job. Now you're asking me to find 2 jobs, and you want me to do this and that, right? So it becomes overwhelming. One of the things that, people can do is mind map. And mind mapping in a way that you put yours, you at the center of it, and start to draw branches around your strengths and around your skills, what you know, right? And what happens is that you can pick up 2 or 3, highlight those things which aligns with each other. So I did this exercise as part of a course that I was doing, and I had my hobby. So doodling is my hobby, then career coaching is my profession, and training is something that I really enjoy. So when I was looking at that, I said, look, I can really teach, if I get good with that, is career practitioners how to do doodle, so that they are able to more effectively communicate their concepts to their clients. And suddenly in that, when I looked at 3 of them, I said, yeah, you know what, that's possible. It may not be possible straight away, but I know what career practitioners or career coaches go through. And for them to be better at their job, if they have got this tool of doodling or visual sketching, and if I can help them do that. That's an extra thing that I can do, and be make money out of it too. But also it also kind of aligns with what I'm doing right now. So effectively, just let your mind wander. Pick up a blank, and then do mind mapping. It's a great way, in my view, to begin exploring options, not necessarily solidifying, but right now in this process, we want you to explore options. What are, KB and Momalita, your thoughts on how people take the first step in this?
I have actually written down some steps. I was thinking
Right.
ahead of time. And I think the first thing always to start with, and certainly Simon Sinek is a big proponent of this, is starting with why. Why would you want to have a portfolio career? Um, you know, what's driving that? What benefit does that offer you? Is it because you want to do freelance work? Is it because you want to test a business theory? Try before you fly. Is it because you want to do some volunteer work, or you want to take on a board position, or you're not satisfied in your current role and you want something that gives you an outlet for your creativity or a different form of expression, to utilize different skills? Or are you trying to transition into a new career field, and this is a way to do that? Because quite often people do actually start, often it's easier to work for yourself in an area before actually working in the area as an employee. I think starting with that why and the what first of all, and then thinking about the when. So, working out, looking at your financials is really important. I know it's very boring for a lot of people, but it's quite fundamental, because you need to know, okay, do I have to work a 5-day, 40-hour week to meet all of my expenses? Or can I cut it down to 4 days a week? Would that be viable? Or would a compromise of a 9-day fortnight be better, where I get the same pay, but I get 1 day a fortnight where I can use that to start working on my new business, or, creating a new service offering, or doing some volunteer work, or whatever it might be? Or is it a case of, no, actually, I want to have two things going pretty close concurrently? So, can I take my work down to 3 days a week? So looking at all of those logistics is really important in terms of, okay, how do I make this work? How do I make it viable? If you're part of a team, if you need to talk with your partner about how that can be possible and how they can support you in that, emotionally or financially, because it will impact. And sometimes, if you've been in an organisation for a long time, you may have long service leave, or you may have extended leave, or be able to take a sabbatical. I'm noticing a bit of noise on the line. I'm not sure if everyone else can hear that.
I don't know. It's coming out. It's gone now.
Yeah. So, look at all of those logistical elements as well. And then the final part is really the, I suppose the how, or what you're going to be doing. So, if you're setting up your own business, obviously there's a lot involved with that. What level do you want to take it to? You'll probably need a website. You'll need to set up a LinkedIn company page, a Facebook page. How are you going to go about promoting that business? And you probably need to get some independent guidance on that as well, because there's so much to it. With freelancing or contracting, do you need to join an agency? Would you join something like Odesk, or what used to be called Elance? Freelancing platforms where you can get work from all over the world, or here in Australia, examples, depending on the type of work, things like Airtasker, as a starting point. And then in terms of part-time, obviously, if you're looking for another role, looking for those opportunities, actually sometimes getting part-time work can be the hardest thing in terms of, as an employee. It may be easier sometimes to go out on your own, depending on what it is you want to do.
Fantastic. With your experience of your portfolio career, Melita, where did you start? Because you've mentioned, you were selling on the side and dance teaching. Yeah, how did you start yours?
Well, I didn't deliberately think that it was a portfolio career. Well, I'll be honest. This was back in the 99. So I was, as I said, I was working in a marketing role. It was financial services marketing. It didn't really float my boat, I'll be honest.
I was going to go.
Compliance documentation, yay. I had an opportunity to teach a dance style that I'd been doing for a number of years. Got to start, from the ground up, and that was my passion. I was doing that 3-4 nights a week, which I loved. And then I was also selling this health product on the side as well. I just appealed to different aspects of what I wanted to do at the time. And I was looking for alternatives, I think, because I was not satisfied in my career. Looking back, it didn't meet my values. And then, then when I got into career coaching, when I had assessed my values and realised that financial services marketing was not it for me, and I wanted to help people and help people find their purpose, and hence why I ended up choosing the name of my business. So I was career coaching, but then I also got into teaching a different style of dance that I also enjoyed. And also while I was running my business, I was also doing small business consulting and doing some marketing services as well. So partly because it was different income streams, but partly it was just for the enjoyment of it and the variety. And I would say that that's probably one of the key advantages of having a portfolio career, especially if you're someone who can be a little bit indecisive, which I have been known to be, or just wanting to do a lot of different things. It gives you that variety, it gives you that choice, it gives you flexibility, and it gives you challenge as well, because I think a lot of us, especially if you've got a role that perhaps, maybe not as intellectually challenging, or just may not be as interesting, or if you've got a creative side, that sort of creative itch that you need to scratch, having a portfolio career can give you that opportunity. My husband works in sales, but he's really creative, and he's been running his photography business on the side since before I met him. I've also done wedding photography and event photography and stuff as well when I've helped him. So I think once people start having a portfolio career, it can become a little bit addictive, and you keep adding new things. I don't know if that's been your experiences as well.
Well, it's interesting, I guess there's a little bit about, a lot about following what you're enjoying, and then, but also saying yes to things, or having an open mind about things versus a kind of closed mind, thinking that you might not enjoy that or it might not yield results. It sounds like there's that kind of happenstance theory in there as well of, curiosity, experimentation, saying yes, and seeing where that lands, and whether that's enjoyable or doable or yields an income or whatever it is that your goal is as well. I think a lot of people struggle when they're looking for a job because, if we take it back to that, there's a fixed mindset. It's, I can only do this in this context because that's what I've done before, versus, well, what else is out there? What's another expression of that talent that I have, or what is it that, I enjoy horse riding. Could I teach it? You know what I mean? Let's just say yes and not overthink it at that time. So, I'm thinking about my experiences. I really just wanted to get out of the corporate world, and somebody suggested, I saw a friend writing resumes, and I went, I could do that. And that was where that started. So it's kind of like that openness to change as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's adding to that. I think, as career coaches, we see a lot of people who aren't happy in their careers, who aren't enjoying what they're doing, and sometimes people can get very stuck in a rut. Yeah. Where they're stuck in a role that they don't enjoy, or a career or an industry they don't enjoy, and they often feel, oh, that's all I can do, which is almost never the case. There's always something else you can do. You can always transfer those skills into another field. And so it gives people a way of trying out something else, especially if they keep their 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job, 38-hour-a-week job, whatever it might be, and do something after hours as a way of testing the water, of a way of that, try before you fly, give it a go, see if it works, see if you like it. And then if you do, you sort of build on the success. It's kind of taking baby steps, build on that success. And if you find, okay, well, actually this is working, I'm making money from this other activity that I'm doing, and then go back to your work and see if you can negotiate to work a 9-day fortnight or 4 days a week. A lot more workplaces are open to that now. To be honest, people who work part-time are generally more productive as well. I mean, certainly look at all the working mums and working dads who demonstrate that, who've proven that over the years.
Just I wanted to throw it out to the audience. If you've got any questions at all or comments, please put them in the chat box. We're here to help, because I know a lot of people struggle with this concept too. So, sorry, Naish, I interrupted you.
No. I recently there was the I read a ABC blog post where the Queen's birthday honors, and one of the story really caught my attention was the Chief Executive Officer of Taranga Conservation Society. And he's a CEO, but he said that he started as a side gig, and he started actually as a volunteer, and he fell into that, just because he enjoyed that, and now he became a CEO of that. Now that's just remarkable way to test waters and work out things. And one of the story that I read in the book called Design Your Work Life, where they talk about a concept called good for now. I think we are so much attuned to think of, what will happen in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Nobody knows. Before I traveled to India last year, I did not know that I'm going to be there for 3 months. I did not know that. Now we are, so I think this idea of what will happen, what if this, is so ingrained that it really stops us trying out things. And that's one of the things that I've observed. And that's what the first concepts are good for now. What is good for now for you right now? We are not asking you to not think about your financial future. We are not suggesting that at all, right? But if you like something, if you think that you might have an interest into that, explore. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to explore. People, I don't know, maybe there's a societal acceptance thing that Nation is now is engineer started to do this. Now he's doing doodling. What the heck is this guy up to, right? So people may, so then I have to really get used to that. People may start to see me a little bit differently, and I have to take that all in my stride. So I think that's another sort of limit that people may feel, that what if I tell that I've got this crazy side gig that I do, I don't know whether that will be acceptable or not, so I might as well do that. Have you seen those stuff, Melita?
Well, I was just thinking about a really great example of a client I worked with. So he was ex-military in New Zealand, and he had been a program manager in government. And when he was out, his role came to an end. He was made redundant, went through an outplacement program with me, and what really came out of that is he was passionate about film and he really wanted to be involved in filmmaking. Now, as we know, that's not necessarily the most reliable of industries to get into, right? And most people would say, oh no, that's not possible. But I take the view, look, if that's something you're really passionate about, go for it. And so what he ended up being able to do was he got involved in films as a military advisor, so was providing his expertise from his experience in the Defence Force over, in the Army over many years, and was a military advisor on a number of films, quite high-profile films, and has been subsequently involved in quite a number of films. And he has just in the past week been made the CEO of the New Zealand Film Commission.
Wow.
He's actually turned that right around from being, a hobby and an interest to something that has actually become his main career, which is fantastic. So, something that I think those sort of things really are very heartwarming for me when people actually are able to do what they really want to do and turn something that's a passion actually into a viable career. And it didn't, it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, this has happened over a period of 14 odd years, 15 odd years, but that's quite a great outcome.
Yeah.
That's just one example.
It's really interesting with this too, because I think that people are in the unknown a lot of the time, or in a situation where they feel institutionalized, their blinkers are on, they can't see much beyond what they're actually doing. And I guess, why it's useful, Naish has talked about that book quite often, but to be able to give people a framework of what the future, like even to put that process of exploration into a framework, gives people a structure who need that as well. Like, you and I and Naish might be really comfortable with just jumping and the uncertainty, knowing, but a lot of people haven't been in that kind of uncertain land and are not comfortable without that kind of framework that they can work towards. So, and it's really interesting too, because I think an element of that kind of framework is that curiosity and that network. Like, who could you go and talk to about an interest of yours? Who could you go and have a chat to about what they actually do, or just a chat to understand them, and that could go into that mix as well of change. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I always encourage my clients who are looking at transitioning into a brand new career that they aren't familiar with to go through information interviewing and talk to people who work in that field. And over the years, I've developed quite a strong network on LinkedIn, and it's something I highly recommend for my clients to do. But wherever possible, I leverage that network to introduce clients to other people that I know in professions of interest and careers of interest. So that people can ask those questions and do that exploration, because the more you understand about the next step, about what you're considering doing, and the more you can do that reconnaissance, the easier it's going to make it for you to feel more comfortable about how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, what you need to do, when you need to do it, rather than just jumping in blindly. There's an expression, look before you leap, but, don't forget to leap.
Exactly. Well, I was just thinking too, my change came from one informational interview. So an idea, somebody said to me at work, I could write because I was looking for other things to do. I went and spoke to somebody who had their own magazine. It was an industry magazine. And that was actually the segue to doing what I'm doing now. So it can just be one little conversation that takes you in a new direction. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One conversation can be life-changing.
Yeah, totally.
So, I highly recommend people to explore the possibilities, especially for people who, who have a variety of interests, who aren't necessarily satisfied with the status quo, and who are looking to have a different or more fulfillment in their lives, in their professional lives. Certainly, I think that can be an option with their portfolio, with a portfolio career. I'm not saying it's all roses. There are, there's pros and cons to anything, right? And I can talk through some of the cons for you if you like.
Absolutely,
as well.
I think that'd be really useful. Yeah.
So, as I said, the pros are around, having that flexibility, that variety, the challenge, and being a low risk option for starting your own business or moving into a different career field. can have a lot of autonomy. I think it does give you a lot of freedom over your career, a lot more control over your career. And it means that if one thing doesn't work, then you've got a variety of other options. And, lifestyle, it can really work, particularly for people who may be, have young families or have caring responsibilities. Having part-time or a mix of different options could work quite well for them. And also people who want to give back, because even though we've talked a lot about paid work, a lot of times people actually are looking to do unpaid work. They're at a time in their career or their lives where they want to be giving back. That makes up a portfolio career too. In terms of the potential negatives, you will be very busy. Whenever I talk to clients, and I met a potential client yesterday, and they were telling me about their portfolio career, and it's like, okay, so when do you sleep? It's really important to prioritize sleep in amongst all of that as well. So, it can be extremely busy and quite demanding, and it will be a juggle. You need to have quite good time management to have a portfolio career, because it's not just your 9 to 5 set and forget. Not that very many jobs are like that now anyway, to be fair, but also, so you've got to look at your work-life balance and make sure you still prioritize your own well-being in amongst that. There's obviously some tax implications if you're setting up your own business, and you need to get some advice around that. And it can be quite inconsistent. So depending on what your 2+ jobs are, if they're all self-employed, as I have had before, and as you both have, you may need to sign up, especially contract or freelancing, you may need to sign up with a few different providers before you find ones that will actually give you work. And some of them promise the world, and yes, you're going to get this contract and that contract, and then don't deliver, and you sign up with them and you don't hear from them. And I've certainly been down that path. And it's frustrating, because you're like, well, hang on, you were so keen, and where are you? But you've just got to, it's a way especially with freelancing, you need to sign up with a few different places before you find the ones that stick. So that can be a challenge if you haven't got that sort of employee role with a predictable income as your anchor. And that's where, for a lot of people who are new to this, that's probably going to be really beneficial for them to have that anchor of predictable income. And then the other thing that isn't so much talked about is it can lead you feeling like you have a split personality. And that can be, right? And that can be a challenge when you're promoting yourself, for example, on LinkedIn, how you present your profile, how you promote yourself. At the moment, I'm a career coach and I'm an L&D professional, in arguably sort of equal measure. And sometimes I'm promoting as an L&D professional, and sometimes I'm promoting, as a career professional. So that's just another consideration to account for. And that's why it's also, I think, quite essential, if you are an employee, to have that open discussion with your manager and just make it very clear that there's a clear delineation between work and what you're doing outside of work, and that there is no conflict of interest.
That makes sense.
Excellent. I think we covered what, why, how, and what not to do about portfolio careers. So, Melita, if people want to reach out to you, if they need some more help with their careers, or working out what other things that they could do, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure. Probably the easiest, if you're on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn. I love getting LinkedIn requests. Just send me a message. Alternatively, my website is www.careersonpurpose.com.au. And that has all my contact details on it. So that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, because I think, people have so many questions about this, and, it is a big way of working in the future, and I think it will continue to grow as the economy changes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, please also subscribe. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, please follow the hashtag Career Care Package. Naish, is there anything else that you need to, any other pearls of wisdom you need to impart to the audience?
No, I think I've just given the quota for today. Just do what Caroline asks you to do. That's it. I don't ask her any questions. She says, "Nish, do this," and I just do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go in the wrong side, as well. But no, thank you again, Molita, for joining us. It's
You're
been an
welcome.
absolute pleasure. And to the audience, yeah, please continue to shower your love and your um, not money right now, but just shower your support to us. We'll ask for money when we want it. And we will see you on next Friday, 12 p.m. We don't know who is coming. No idea right now, but we will find an amazing guest for you and we will bring another amazing topic for you. And if you want us to reach out to somebody to bring new insights around careers, jobs, feel free to recommend a great guest. Me or Caroline will reach out and we'll try to get him or her on our show. Until we see you on next Friday, have a safe weekend, have a happy weekend, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.